Welcome back to another week of Centenarian Club. We're so excited to be talking about the lymphatic system. Blaze is excited too. Whoop, whoop. So we want to jump right into that. But first, we want to ask you guys what is going on in your lives? Any wins happening for you guys? Let us know. We want to hear from you.
Yeah. Um, Not a win per se, kind of a loss. Like I've been sick the last like 5 or 6 days, and I was telling this to Chella, like the pressure in my head has never been this bad in my entire life. I've tried like steaming over a bowl of eucalyptus like water, like everything, and it's just not working. So thankfully Chella's coming by today. He's gonna do some acupuncturing on my face because I've had this before. I think you and I were in Michigan, Chella, and you did acupuncture down my like like down my nose and in my lip, and it just helped infinitely. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, hopefully that does the trick. Sometimes it's like the only thing that helps. You're trying all the other stuff, but you need something like physical. So
Yeah, and I can like feel the pressure, and it's like even jumping on the trampoline in the morning, it's super hard because there's so much pressure in my head. So yeah, pumped.
Cool. And maybe this some of the stuff we do with lymphatic drainage today will also open it up. Curious to hear your before and after.
Yeah, me too.
Any other wins or losses?
I can share.
Hi.
Hi. I have embraced more rest. I have been, at times even if the house is a mess, I just kind of lay on the couch and I tell the girls I need like 15 minutes and it just helps a lot. And I've been going to bed for the most part really early every single night. So I am taking Andrew's recommendations for hibernating, but still trying to go. I'm still trying to go outside, but yeah, it's been a little bit more challenging because it is getting colder. And I started with a trainer this week. So I don't know if I mentioned that before, but that's another win for me because I'm just not that good at working out by myself. And I just realized that over the years, I don't push myself as much as I probably can or should. And I reached out to an old trainer of mine because my husband is a personal trainer, but he has no time for me. So I just reached out to Tarek, and Tarek has been, this is my second week. So I only do once a week, and I've been feeling great.
That's
awesome.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I love the awareness run. Sometimes we just don't quite get there on our own. And even just once a week with a trainer can push you in that way. And then have you found that it gives you the motivation to do your own thing?
Yeah, of course. Of course. Yeah. And I have my soccer on Tuesday, so it feels like a good balance.
Yeah. Amazing.
Mm.
Solange. Love it.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing. Niece, do you want to share?
Sorry, I'm struggling. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I would say a win that we had also included you guys, but meeting up on Friday and going to like the spa, doing the sauna and cold bath, getting a massage. I think just like Blaze and I have had a crazy like few months at work. And so even that we felt like we were just like overwhelmed. But as soon as we got there, it was like so nice to just like be forced to like take a second, relax, have like a slower evening. And it was really nice. So that was a good win. And just a reminder to slow down because I feel like it's been, yeah, just a crazy few months for us.
Mm-hmm. Did you notice a difference the next day or like next couple of days?
I had a volleyball tournament the next day, so I got right back into not resting. But even that night, like I think just like we went to dinner after and just felt like so relaxed. Like I think it really helped like my mindset in general. And then yeah, like we were definitely in more of like a relaxation mode for the rest of the weekend apart from my tournament. So it was good.
How did you find playing? Because I know we talked about that. Like I don't know, it could go either way. Like you could play really well, or you could be like super drained. Did you feel like your body felt good?
It felt like pretty neutral. Like I didn't feel any different. I also don't play that often, so I don't have like much of a bar to compare myself to these days. But yeah, it felt good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt really good the next day. I think the next 2 days, but yeah, especially the next day, I was like, oh my God, that was so nice. I should just
Yeah,
like every month. It's not that expensive. It's a good investment for sure.
definitely.
If you have if you have benefits, then this is called Millcroft Inn, but Tanya, I know you're near Barrie. There's another one called Beta, I think, over there. Everybody else is pretty local. So yeah, there's Millcroft Inn, and we went there. If you get a massage, if you have benefits, which we don't, but if you have benefits, you go and get a massage, and then you get to use the pools, like hot tub, cold tub, neutral bath thing. Sauna, steam room, just relax, like just read a book. It's really nice. It forces you to unplug. And sometimes it's really hard, as Nico was saying, to like get there, like to actually take the time, carve it out. Because it feels like, especially this time of year, it's just so busy. Once you do, it's like, I really needed this. You ever feel that when you actually take the time? So it's so important to just kind of plan that. And yeah, monthly would be awesome, or even just quarterly would be great too. Yeah, Blaze had a male massage therapist. He was not happy, but he actually ended up liking it, I think. Okay. If there's any other wins, please go ahead and unmute.
Yes, I have a funny one because my kids, they listen. So when I tell them things, but they also repeat it back to me. So they were on their phones for a little while on the weekend, and I was telling them to get off their phone and just, take a break. And my older son was like, well, I have the red filter on, so it's okay. And then my younger son was like, hold on, let me get the glasses. And he went to get the natural blocks glasses. And I was like, yes, those are good things, but that's not the point. You have to take a break once in a while. So it was just funny that they were just repeating it back to me and saying, don't worry, we're covered. We know what to do. It was cute.
Hard to argue that, eh? That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. Hey, cool. Yeah, I feel like my win in going into a clinical pearl is last week I was sick, as you guys know, and it resolved very quickly. I still have like a little bit of a postnasal drip, but overall it resolved really quickly. I'm sure the spa on Friday helped a lot too. But I actually think that learning about lymphatic drainage and doing the big six, which we'll teach today if you guys don't already know it, has been a game changer for my lymphatic system and just helping my body to be more robust and resilient and just recover a lot like quicker than I used to. So it feels really good. So I think this, the more I learn about the lymphatic system, how it relates to the fascial system, how it relates to, our body's ability to heal from sicknesses, but also in what we were talking about last week about like face yoga, face structure, puffiness, so beauty aspect of things, but also just how I feel, pain, mobility, like it's just all encompassing. Some practitioners I find have like this lens on health. It's like it all comes down to this, it all comes down to, some people are like lymph, some people are like liver, some people are like gut. I think it can be everything, but the more I learn about lymph, the more I'm like, wow, this actually does really encompass a lot of things, and we can't fully reach our optimal state of health if our lymph isn't flowing as it should. So I'm really grateful to be learning about the lymph system and how it relates to me and my health, and get to teach that to you guys and to my patients. The other piece, the other clinical pearl as it relates to lymphatic system, what we're talking about today, is puffiness under the eyes. So it's something I've struggled with for a while, and I think that this can be a variety of things, but lymph is a big factor. It could be facial structure as well. But reflecting backwards, I think what happened, or when my puffiness, like the under eye puffiness, we can't really see it on here, but it's there. And so when it started, I believe, is when I got fake eyelashes. I'm trying to think of the year, probably 2015, 2016. It's like that trend. I think it's still a thing for some people, but the individual lashes that got glued onto my eyes. And I remember, at that time, I don't know how old I was, 20, 23, 24, 23, probably 22. The fact that I felt good with the lashes, I felt more beautiful, trumped the fact that every time I cried or my eyes watered, it felt like acid in my eyes. It was terrible. So I ignored it. And I thought, whatever. I was young and I felt really good with my lashes and I ignored it for a while. And I had my lashes on for probably like, you get new ones every, I don't know, month, 6 weeks. But I redid this for probably about 8 months. And that is when, if I look back on pictures, this puffiness started. So it's so interesting because if I go out or I put on makeup, even just mascara, and I have like the Ilia clean mascara, but if I allow it to kind of fall into my eyes, over the day, it does that. Or if I don't wash it off completely before I go to bed, the next day my eyes are quite puffy. And it literally took me so long to really make this correlation, like, oh, my eyes are trying, but if the rest of my face, there's lymphatic systems in the eye specifically, but if the rest of my face isn't open, it's not going to be able to flush and everything's going to pool. So it's like this stagnation happening from my body. Maybe something happened, like this toxicity from the lashes really gunked up my lymph system probably. And from there, it's been an uphill battle, and I have never taken care of my lymph until recently. So I'm hoping that, and that's one of my biggest goals, is the puffiness in my face, especially my eyes, can start to decrease as I'm working on the rest of my lymphatic system, not just my face, but my whole body, so that everything can kind of clear up and open. And in the meantime, I'm still going to wear mascara occasionally, but when I do, I'm going to be really diligent about washing it off, making sure my eyes are very clean. Even whenever I'm touching my eyes, I'm so quick to touch my eyes. I'm always touching. I want to have clean hands so that I'm not contributing to the gunkiness, right? Inside, like that my lymph system has to process. So that's been, for me, something I've noticed big changes in, and I just wanted to share if that's something I struggle, that anybody that you guys for eye puffiness or puffiness in general, or if it's not the eyes, maybe it's a different area. Think back, when did this start? Was there any sort of injury or cosmetic enhancement or whatever that could be, backing the system up? And it's not too late. The body can heal. I truly, truly believe that, but we need to work on it and get things moving.
And I tried to help you way back in the day by throwing a basketball at your face accidentally.
I just got my lashes done, my new lashes. Andrew and I are fresh dating, and we're playing basketball, and he threw one right at my eye really hard. Like you were passing it to somebody, and it just went right in my eye. And I went like this, and in my hand were just all of my individual lashes in my hand, and I just got them done, and I was like, oh my God, I went and looked in the mirror. This one had like 4 lashes left. This one's full because I just got it done. I was like, oh my God. I couldn't even look at you in the face. He thought I was so mad at him. And I was a little upset, but I was like, I'm just so shy and embarrassed. I was like, you can't look at me with these uneven lashes.
And you're still with him.
Yeah. Good question.
Wasn't intentional. You were cutting in the wrong lane. I was passing to someone else. You're in the wrong spot.
We should do a session on most embarrassing moments for the husbands.
So true.
I have ketchup on white pants for him.
Maybe you need to hear that story one day.
Okay, do you want to post the document?
Yep, sure. Nico red flag, yes.
Okay, so we posted a document in the chat there, just with some notes on the lymphatic system. And it might be good actually just to take a look now at that first picture.
I lost
A
it.
lot of people probably just haven't really seen, like Marissa was saying, it's not really something that's that like mainstream or talked about. And even in the medical world, for some reason, there's this huge disconnect. Like you have a specialist, like you think about a specialist for every organ system. You could see your there's like hepatologist, rheumatologist, whatever, like for every single system, there's a specialist, but there's no like lymphologist. It's kind of like a weird thing. And we only really talk about lymph when it comes to like cancer and metastasis, yet it's like, it's a vital organ like the rest of the body. So anyways, basically what I was saying is you may not be familiar with what it looks like. So it's good just to like see a picture. And basically your lymphatic system, it runs like head to toe. It's throughout your entire body, but you have certain areas that are more concentrated than other ones. And we'll talk about that like in terms of like practicality and what you can be focusing on for manual drainage. But you can see around the head and neck, there's a lot going on there. The like clavicles, collarbone there. Also your underarms, you get quite a bit. And then also this picture doesn't really show up, but around your abdomen actually is the highest concentration. and then also your groin and behind the knees as well. So you have small lymph vessels everywhere, but you have these more concentrated lymph nodes in certain areas. So those are the places that we're going to want to focus on when we're talking about like manual techniques or like using topical applications. But that's kind of, yeah, that's basically what it looks like. It's intertwined with fascia, with the circulatory system. And it's actually huge. Like it's another, just like, it blows my mind that we don't talk about it more. There is 3 times as much fluid in the lymphatic system as there is your circulatory system. So it actually comprises like a lot more of your fluid transport compared to your cardiovascular system. But we always talk about that, right? Your arteries and veins and circulating blood, but no one really talks about lymph. So it is very important. And this is just a quote here from Andreas Moritz. He's like a natural health kind of guy who popularized the liver and gallbladder cleanse. So he says, rarely there's a disease which is not due to lymphatic obstruction. And they say that a lot in Ayurvedic medicine as well. There's many other like natural medicine doctors who agree there's almost always some degree of like lymphatic obstruction when you have a health issue. So some sort of fluid is becoming stagnant and your body's unable to get rid of the wastes. Do you want to keep sharing or?
No, I just want to
Okay.
share the photo.
Okay.
Yeah, like Andrew said though, these are the main lymphatic drainage points, but there is lymph, there's just not as big of like the nodes, but there are lymph channels working all throughout the body. So it looks here on the face that it just stops right underneath, like this is closer to the ear, and then kind of down into the neck. It doesn't stop there. Like I said, there are actual lymph nodes in and around the eyes, forehead, scalp. It's just smaller, but these are like more of the main areas.
Yeah, and in terms of like the actual functions, so it's often called the sewage system or like the main drainage system. So when your cells need to get rid of waste or excess fluid, what they're going to do is it's going to get drained through the lymphatic system, and then that ends up back into your circulatory system. So specifically the like right above your left collarbone is where all the lymph re-enters circulation. And then it can, do its thing. Usually it's going to go to the kidneys to get excreted if it's some sort of waste. But your cells, whatever it doesn't need, it's going to get filtered into the lymph, and then the lymph is going to return it into your circulation. So it's very important. I mean, we talk a lot, like I said, about the circulatory system, getting things into the cell, but how does all that junk get out? So that's where the lymph comes into play. So he said it courses the entire body. Actually, recently, in the last couple of years, we found out there's also a lymphatic system in the brain, which is very important for detoxifying that. And previously, we thought it kind of like stopped here, but we know it's also in the brain. We talked about high concentration of lymph nodes. One of the more important things too is that those vessels, lymph vessels, don't contain any muscles. So a lot of your blood vessels have like a muscular wall, which help it contract and then pump blood, but your lymph vessels don't have that. So they're highly dependent on movement. So you physically need to move your muscles in order to like move lymph around your body. So that's one of the massive benefits of movement that people also often neglect. So drainage, kind of like sewage system, getting rid of all the crap. That's probably the most important thing. It's
Function. Sorry for people watching the replay. I just like to say the title of it. So he's just going into the functions of the lymphatic drainage system.
So drainage of toxins, and then your immune system too. So when you get sick, sometimes you'll get swollen lymph nodes. And basically what's happening there, you have a high concentration of immune cells that are in your lymphatic system, particularly in the nodes. So like the current theory is that, say there's like some sort of bacteria or virus or whatever that shouldn't be in the body. Since that fluid is circulating throughout the body, if it's in your blood somewhere, it's going to get to your lymph nodes eventually. And then you have your B and T cells, the natural killer cells, all your immune cells that are there to, they say like fight the bacteria. I honestly don't know if that's how it works. I'm assuming more what's happening is that when you have too many like toxins in your system, then your body creates like inflammation as an attempt to try to get rid of it. So that's when you start to see like the swelling and the bigger lymph nodes. Regardless, there's some sort of interplay between immune function there, and that's why you get those swollen lymph nodes. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that your lymphatic system is backed up. You need to address whatever's causing that in the first place. And then the other thing too is that your lymph will transport fats. So when you digest any type of like fatty food, or I guess particular like lengths of fat, it'll go through your intestines and then right into your lymphatic system, and then it gets delivered to your bloodstream. So a lot of people who have difficulty digesting fats, it could be like a liver gallbladder issue, but also it could be that your lymphatic system is kind of backed up. So if you feel really like sluggish or just like heavy after eating fats, then it could be in part your lymph system. Tanya was saying, years ago, my son had salmonella bacteria and lymph intestines were painful.
You mean the
Yeah.
nodes in the stomach? Yeah. Yeah, so they'll get swollen, just like if you have a upper respiratory illness, then you'll get swollen up in here. We don't typically feel it in here, but they will get enlarged. So if you have a stomach infection like that, then yeah, you absolutely could get swollen lymph nodes in the stomach. So it's just so interesting once you start to make those connections and start to see like, yes, this is actually happening. Because people don't talk about it, right? So it can be a little bit scary, especially since they're kind of lumpy. So if you feel little lumps in different places, it's like, oh my gosh, what's happening? Some people, I was just gonna say, well, I'm kind of jumping ahead a bit, but some people have like in the armpits, some lumps or bumps, right? But if you look at a kid, their armpit is more of like a pit. If they lift their arm, you know what I mean? It's more like a hollow whoop. And then as we age, a lot of times that pit becomes a poof. And this is now like an external or more flat. And sometimes people have little bumps in the armpit. And this is, again, going back to that photo, a really main part of the lymphatic drainage. So the lymph can get stuck, and this doesn't necessarily mean that we have an infection or anything like going on there. It can, but it could be just like the stagnation of the lymph that, again, just needs to start flowing.
Yeah, and some people just have different tendencies too. Like I know some people who, when they get sick, they always seem to have like really swollen lymph nodes, and for them, maybe they just rely on like their lymphatic system to get rid of things. Whereas other people, they always have crazy skin stuff going on, and maybe their body prefers to get rid of things that way. So it's not always necessarily like a bad thing, but if it's a chronically happening, then it may just be an indication that that system needs some work. Do any of you guys, are you like prone to swollen lymph nodes? Like, do you notice that if you get sick, your neck will blow up or other areas?
No, not for me, but my little one, I noticed in her neck, they actually do swell up. And so we just try when she gets sick or when she's fighting something. And so we use the Lymphatic by Pasco. That really helps in massaging. But yeah, I have noticed it with her.
Right. Yeah, in kids it seems to be fairly common, but we really like that cream as well. It seems to work quite well. Yeah. And yeah, it's not really bad either when they're a little bit swollen, but over time they can get like hard, and then that's more an indication that it's been like a chronic problem. So nothing wrong with some acute inflammation there, but then you obviously don't want it to be lingering too long. Yeah, so the last kind of function I would say is brain detox. So that new system they found is called the lymphatic system with a G. And basically at night what happens, your brain cells, they shrink, and then that allows for more space in between them. And you have this cerebrospinal fluid that flushes through and gets rid of all the crap there. So now this is kind of being connected to things like Alzheimer's and other like neurological diseases. And when this is impaired, it's kind of difficult to study, but in like mouse models, they've shown that when that's impaired, they end up getting Alzheimer's and all these like neurodegenerative diseases much quicker. So when you're sleeping, that naturally happens. Apparently lying on your left side is more efficient for that drainage. And then also like slight elevation of your head can also improve it. I wouldn't necessarily say like totally change your sleeping position just based on that, but it seems like that seems to improve it. But that's another one of the functions of the lymphatic system. It'll drain all the toxins from your brain. Cool.
Okay, so going into the signs of an impaired, go ahead, Neeks.
Sorry, I just had a question, kind of like related, because my uncle like is starting to get like early onset dementia, and they're basically like draining his spine, and then they're also going to drain like fluid in his brain. Would that be connected to his lymphatic system maybe, or do you think that would be something else?
Do you know why they're draining? Was it accumulating?
Yeah, there's just like a lot of fluid that they found like specifically in his spine and his brain, and they're saying that's like likely causing the dementia to come on early.
Oh.
Have you guys heard of that?
No.
Okay.
No, I've never heard of that.
I'd have to look that up specifically, but it does, it does make sense that it might not be draining adequately. And
Yeah. Yeah, I was just curious. I don't know, honestly, too many of the details, but yeah, I was just curious.
Yeah. Well, that segues into the next thing we're going to talk about, signs of impaired lymph flow. And the number one thing is some sort of like swelling or fluid accumulation. So it would definitely be implicated in some way. And maybe you could share with them some of the techniques we're going to talk about that may be helpful. But basically, yeah, if you have swelling anywhere in your body or just like noticing water retention, then by default, it means your lymphatic system, at least in that area, isn't properly draining.
Does anybody get puffiness in their face? Waking up puffy, or just you notice if you're more stressed or just not moving as much, that puffiness can accumulate in the face?
It happens to me when I have had a dinner that is overly salty.
Yeah, that makes sense. So your body's retaining a lot of water with the salt.
Mm-hmm. Which is interesting because I mean, I don't know. I don't think my body absorbs salt very well because I actually have low sodium right now. So um, my blood results showed that my sodium is too low. So it's weird. I don't know if that's connected.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be kidneys as well because they regulate the concentration of those electrolytes. So yeah, but it doesn't really make sense if you had low sodium. But maybe what's happening, so like they're measuring it in the blood. You have low sodium in the blood, but it's actually in your they call it the extracellular space. So it's not in the blood, not in the cells, but it's in between. And then cause that puffiness.
Got
So
it.
that could be, yeah, if your lymph is stuck, then you're not draining that extracellular space.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting.
Yeah.
On the contrary, Tanya's saying if she doesn't drink enough water, she'll get puffy.
Yeah, I noticed for me, like it's not a normal occurrence, but especially if I'm drinking, like if I have a few drinks, the next morning you notice like face is just puffier. And I think a lot of people can relate to that, like under the eyes, or you just feel swollen. Or sometimes for fingers too, especially if you wear rings, it's easy to tell, you know, oh, I'm like quite swollen. There's some sort of backup because the ring's not sliding off as easy as it normally would.
Yeah, Tanya's saying follicular phase of her period as well. Absolutely, that's a huge thing. Some swelling, especially under here with pre-cycle. Again, we're going into that in Chinese medicine. It's like the liver qi stagnation pre-cycle. The things aren't necessarily moving, and then sometimes as soon as blood starts to flow, then the body can actually like flow a little bit more, and lymphatic system can move a little bit more too. So that's interesting.
And I find a lot of older people too, they'll see that swelling in like lower parts of the body. You don't really see it in young people so much, but just like swollen feet or ankles is a common thing as well.
Why do you guys think that is? That older people would have swelling in their feet, ankles, lower body?
Maybe they're not moving as much.
Yeah. Yeah, very, very common that they're not moving as much. And then everything can pool because the lymph needs to move with the muscular system.
Yeah, I heard an interesting theory. I think they did a study looking at like where different heavy metals in the body, and they found a higher concentration in the feet. And it's kind of just like gravity, and heavy metals in particular, like they are physically heavier than other elements, but they tend to accumulate in the feet. So a lot of people end up getting like circulatory issues in their feet or lower legs, whatever it is. And it could be over all those years, you're accumulating more toxicity in your feet. So then, you have more swelling. It's just, you're working against gravity, right? It's the furthest place from your heart. So it's going to be difficult to move those. Yeah, old people are usually very sedentary, unfortunately.
Okay, so another sign of impaired lymph flow, we can see those swollen lymph nodes, as we said. It can be something that you can continually be getting sick or feeling under the weather or just not even having a hard time. I have some patients who have a hard time recovering. So it's like as soon as they're feeling better, their kid gets sick and they're down and out again. And then as soon as they're getting better, they're sick again because their husband got sick or just nothing. All of a sudden they get hit again. And it's like that immunity just can't quite recover. The lymph cells are not able to clear, and then it leaves you, you're kind of susceptible. And your body's totally overwhelmed. So that. And then as Andrew was mentioning, the difficulty digesting fats because of the role that lymphatic system plays with fat digestion and fat mobilization. Skin problems in general, especially congestion like acne. I see it a little bit with eczema as well, but mostly acne or lesions where especially like pus wants to come out. That could be a difficulty with the lymphatic system. So then the body's like, well, I can't get it out through the lymph and get it to the liver, kidneys. So I'm just going to take it out through the skin here.
Most of your lymph is very superficial too. And that's why you can like palpate and feel your lymph nodes, but all those vessels are very superficial. So if something is unable, so say you have some sort of toxins that are trying to move through your lymph back in your circulation and get excreted by the kidneys, it's just going to diffuse outwards through your skin. So that's kind of why that happens. But most skin issues are going to have some sort of lymph involvement.
Even wrinkling and cellulite, yeah. But even wrinkles, especially from like repeated motion of your forehead. So lifting your eyebrows, for instance, you get the lines here, and then if you feel into them, if you have those lines, or in between your eyebrows, if you have those, if you feel them, sometimes there's a little bit of like crinkling underneath. It's like the fibrosis that happens when you have those types of lines just from repeated use of a muscle. And that's your fascia connecting to your skin, really like your muscles is all kind of like one unit. So it's really hard for the lymph to flow through that when it's been a repeated motion that creates this fibrosis. So it can cause deeper wrinkles and lines on your face, or like Andrew said, cellulite. So again, like the bubbling, same thing. The fascia is really being pulled with the cellulite, and then we can't get the lymph flowing as much.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Michelle said she was maybe going to come on today, but it'd be interesting to talk to her because osteopaths are very aware of the lymph and fascia connection. So I'm sure she sees that all the time. When you have, these fascial adhesions, then all that stuff that's running through that the fascia, so your little lymph vessels and your circulatory system and your nervous system, those things just can't flow properly. So I know there's a big overlap there. And yeah, most osteopaths, it's cool to talk to them because they're it's like a similar philosophy to what we do, but they're doing it from a totally different way. But they're always talking about like drainage. So making sure the lymph is draining, making sure everything has proper circulation. So we just have more of an internal approach. They do more of like an external type of thing, but it's all super helpful. Yeah, and then one of the things that ties into that too is it's kind of more of a general thing, but stiffness and just like aches. So especially if you wake up in the morning and you feel stiff, then that could be an indication as well that your lymph is a little bit sluggish.
Or feeling fatigued in general, low energy. So we're going to move into a therapeutic here called the Big Six, which is by Dr. Perry Nicholson, right? Perry Nicholson?
Yeah, Nicholson. Maybe there's a T, but something like that.
So I want you guys to notice, first of all, like if you were to do this regularly, notice physically, if you notice less puffiness, things able to move a little bit more, but just even acutely, just after the 3 minutes of doing this together, do you feel a surge of energy or just a little bit better? Like all of a sudden you have motivation to do something after this call or whatever. Because again, like mobilizing things can make us feel really good. So before we get into the Big Six together, anybody have any questions on the lymphatic system?
We will talk about more like therapeutics as well, but I'm not sure how much we'll get into today. There's like plenty of stuff you can do to help, but one of the main things is like a manual lymph drainage. So that's what we're going to do now.
I think the goal is to do the manual lymph drainage together. And then I'm going to show you guys a facial drainage technique. And then if you have any questions or whatever, that's fine. But then maybe we can practice this, everybody at home, practice this every day, and then meet again next week and we can share our reflections on how we're feeling. And then we can get into the other therapeutics just so that you guys don't get overwhelmed, because I actually think that the most important one is using the manual therapy, using our hands to do this Big Six, and doing this as a daily routine. The other ones are fantastic and can be worked in as well. But personally, I think that this one is amazing. Has anybody used the Big Six or heard about it?
I know Veronique, I think she showed it to us initially and she
Yeah.
posted it at some point. So I don't know if anyone tried that out.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's do it together. So let's get everybody standing. You can do it sitting.
Are we going to do it ourselves or pull up the video?
Oh, I was just going to do it.
Okay,
Yeah.
whatever.
Okay. So let's do it standing. And you can do it sitting. I'm going to walk you guys through it. So it might be a little bit longer, but honestly, it's going to be like 3 minutes. Very quick, very easy, something that you can definitely fit into your morning routine. And it doesn't have to be this big, charade. Okay. So the first point is on the collarbones. So I'll just walk you through the 6 points first. So the collarbones, this is where, if we pull up that photo again, this is where the lymphatic system is pretty prominent, right? And this is where a lot of, especially the head and neck, this will drain into the collarbones. So that's one point. The next point is a spot behind the jaw, like the angle of the jaw underneath the earlobe, and then between like the angle of the jaw and the spine. Okay, so there's like a big cluster of lymph nodes right in there. We want to be sensitive in there. There are a lot of nerves in there. That one we can kind of do 2 at a time, 2 fingers massaging in there. So that's the second point. The third point is the axillary, like the armpit or the chest, the muscle that is between the armpit and the chest, right? Like that pec chest muscle, massaging in there where the shoulder joint meets the chest and then into the armpit even. Okay, we'll do that on each side. The fourth point is on the stomach. So right in the stomach area, again, what Andrew was saying is this is a huge cluster of lymph nodes here. So we're going to be massaging deeply in there. Again, nothing should hurt. So you're not going too insanely deep, and lymphatic system is just superficial. It's superficial. It's like right on top underneath the skin. So we don't need to like be pressing too much, but the lymphatic system does like to be like pumped. So we'll be working with those types of motions. The next point is in the groin. So right and left where the hips, the legs come and meet the abdomen here, right in the joint, the line of the groin here. And the last point is behind the knees. There's a huge cluster again of lymphatic nodes right behind the knees. Okay, so those are the 6 points, and we're going to be stimulating them together. The 2 motions we're going to be doing is rubbing and then tapping. Okay, you can do it as simple as you want. I'm going to just show you the bare bones one, and then you can do it longer, if needed. But I just find starting with 3 minutes is perfect. So 10 strokes, 10 taps, and then we'll move on. Okay, so let's start with the left collarbone. I like to do a little bit of a peace sign, so I'm going above and below the collarbone. So 10 strokes. And 10 taps. You don't have to go too deep, just a gentle tap. Other side. And 10 taps. Good. The point behind your ear, or underneath the ear, behind the angle of your jaw. 2 fingers and just massaging backwards and down. Both sides at the same time. And gentle taps with those 2 fingers. Don't go too hard here. Good. Going on to the chest, the axillary. And this one will be a little bit more of a massage than a rub. Whatever feels good. And tap. Other side. And tap. Good. Moving on to the stomach. So a hand above and below the belly button there, and then just you can kind of alternate them, or you can do what Andrew was doing. You can kind of just press in and find those spots, whatever feels good. We're just stimulating the area. You can change it up. And tap. Good. I'm going to move on to the groin. And tap. Good. Behind both knees. You can sit down for this, or you can bend. And tap. Good. To finish, we're just gonna stand and you're going to basically rebound yourself, go onto your tippy toes. So you're using your calves and drop. So you're just going repeatedly, getting your calf muscle involved, which is going to be pumping your lymph from your lower body up. Now that we've opened all the channels, you're kind of rebounding. You can let your arms swing. Andrew's moving his neck a bit. You can do that. Whatever feels intuitively good to allow this lymph to flow through your body, but you're not jumping. It's the rebound effect of your heels hitting and your calves contracting. And this part can be as long as you want, 30 seconds to a minute. You can smile if it feels good. Okay, and just relax. How did that feel? Anybody feel a surge of energy, mobility, anything flowing better?
Yeah, I felt pretty good there. Nico almost threw up when we were touching our collarbones because she doesn't like touching bones directly, so that was pretty fun.
I was wondering what happened.
After that, it felt good.
Okay, you're covering your mouth. I was like, you okay?
I was like, I'm gonna puke.
That's fun. I don't think I've
Okay, I've never heard that either, but we need to work on that. Funny. Any other reflections? Oh, it's Solange's energy and flow. Love it.
I could feel like where's more tense. It's
Yeah.
like my right side has more tension than my left side. So it's good to feel that and to work on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you naturally just spend a little bit more time on that side. Like, I mean, Marissa, sometimes I know you're more like you may be more regimented sometimes, like doing like the 10 or whatever.
No.
Well, when you're like following a video or whatever.
Okay.
Anyways, but normally you're just gonna go until it feels good, right? You spend a little bit more time on certain areas. I'm the same way. My right side, especially here, is always worse. So, and that's a good indication. When there's more like pain, then you know the fascia and the lymph are more stuck or stagnant there. So just spend a little bit more time. The nice thing too is that you don't necessarily like you wouldn't always have to do that full routine. You could just be like sitting, waiting or whatever, doing your thing. So you can even be driving with one hand and just working on some of those areas. So this is like the most important part, like we were saying, because all of your lymph drains through there. So you always want to open that up first. And then beyond that, you could just do wherever you want, wherever it feels good for you.
I also really like to do the 6 because I do find I have a little bit of a scatterbrain. So if I stay here for too long, I'll get, I don't know, bored or distracted, and then I'll move on and I won't finish my 6. So I do find that there is a point where I move on and I do my 6 and then I'll come back to it. And then I'll linger in this area. And then this is also where I come back and do a face massage. And so I open up my whole body and then I come back and do like a more of a facial drainage to follow. So that, then I can really spend time and focus, but I've done like my opening and then I can come down back into those areas that were a little bit more tense or need more love.
I was noticing when we were working kind of behind the jaw, how you could just feel in the throat. There was, maybe it's just me. I don't know if anybody else feels the same thing, but there's kind of like liquid flowing, like you have to take a little bit of a swallow. So that's kind of really weird. I'm not sure. Anyways, every time I do kind of anything up in this area and anything back in here, it's always kind of like just that fluid flow, that sensation.
That's a really good sign, Thomas. That means that you're doing it right and you're opening everything up. So there could be some excess fluid in your sinuses or something that just needs to flow. So the fact that you doing this opens that up and allows it to, it's a really good sign. Okay, awesome. Okay, so let's get into some stuff for the face. So when it comes to the face, same thing. You want to open up the chest here, okay? Because everything's going to be draining down. We just opened it. So technically you don't need to again. I like to do it again because it's just such an abundant part of the lymphatic system. So same thing, we're going to, sorry, Neeks, we're going to be doing the collarbone. So rubbing in here.
You can just go above or below.
Yeah, you don't have to do the peace sign if you don't like to.
She's just dry heaving in the other room.
That's why she had to leave, please. And tap. You can do a whole hand. Other side. Tap. Okay, we're going to move on to the neck. So we're going to use our whole hands here, and we're going to be pushing back and down, doing like circles back and down. So those nodes from the face go all the way down the cervical chain, it's called. So all the way down your neck. So you can start at the top and massage kind of back and down, and then move your hands as they go down towards the shoulders, towards the neck. I'll just do that for another 10 seconds. And holding your neck in this way, it can feel very soothing, like it's activating your parasympathetic nervous system, your vagus nerve. It's really soothing. Good, and we can tap along that same chain. Good. Then we can come back and do that same spot, but behind the ear here, and same thing back, do those circles to the back and down. And you could transition to tapping. You can play with the angle of your head. I don't know if you have any sinus congestion like Blaze, yeah, you can go down, but you can also go up, and you might feel it fall. Yeah, not too far. You don't want to compress. Yeah. And you can feel some of your sinuses opening. Peace sign and above or in front of and below of, sorry, in front and behind your ear. And you're kind of bringing your peace sign out when you're with your ear and then together. So we're kind of dragging it down to those cervical nodes that we just opened. And you can tap in front and behind your ear, like a semicircle. And before we move on, let's just kind of gently stroke down from your ear to your neck, to your collarbones, just encouraging the flow that we've just mobilized down the neck. Okay, let's move on to the jawline. So we could put our hands together and thumbs together underneath your chin. And then we're just going to bring our thumbs out towards our ears. So we're just rubbing and then down your neck. So you're rubbing those lymph nodes back, encouraging the flow to that cervical chain, and then using your whole hands gently to bring it down to your collarbone. Okay, we'll do this 5 times. You can do it more. I'm just trying to give a simple routine that does not take too long. And last one here. Good. You might have to swallow quite a bit because this is really moving things. And one of the last points we can do is just on the either side of the nostrils, we're trying to find a little divot where the sinuses are. Might actually feel quite tender, especially if you have congestion. So same thing, press in, go back and down. So we're just mobilizing that area. You can feel some tension in there, just releasing the tension and taking deep, deep, deep nasal breaths if you can. Good. And just gently bring it across your face and down the neck. Across and down. Across and down. Let's just do a couple more points. One of the next points is underneath. If you were to look at the pupils, go down underneath your cheekbones. You can massage in there And you can walk your fingers out towards your masseters, your chewing muscles, almost like poking one at a time, but going kind of deep, just encouraging the flow of the lymph all here. And when you get out to your masseter, you can give it a little massage. This tight muscle can really block lymph flow. The masseter muscle, if you clench your teeth, you'll feel it pulse, or you'll feel it kind of contract. That's your masseter muscle. So you can just do a little, like press your fingers in and just massage it in deep circles, opening up that muscle to allow the flow of the lymph to get past it. And just come back into this gentle, encouraging motion. Just finishing on your collarbones. Good. There's so much more with that. I can show you more next week too. We can work around the eyes. We can work down this muscular chain. We can release more tension in this muscular chain here. Just again, opening up the flow. But this is just a good place to start. Big six, and then just around the face as well. And I encourage you guys to do daily, ideally in the morning, because if you open all of this up, we're opening it all up, and then you go to sleep, it's all open. And then when we're flat, it pools again. So you want to open this up, and then ideally have a day of movement and talking and facial expression. Then we're really draining the face and the neck and the whole body. You can do it before bed, but I really prefer you to do it in the morning, or at least like an hour or two before bed, just to open it all up. Curious, Blaze, because you've had facial congestion. Do you feel a difference?
Marginal. Yeah, I think I would have to do it a bit more. Like when I was doing the masseters there, I really started to feel something good coming in. Like you said, when I tilted my head to help a little bit more flow, it just started to feel a bit better. So I could probably use doing this for like another hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool. Well, thanks for following along and being part of this today. I'm really excited to continue this conversation next week, but I do encourage you guys you can watch this replay, or we posted a YouTube video. There's an Instagram account called Lymph Love Club. She's awesome to follow. She posts a lot of great techniques as well. So many resources, but we will continue the conversation next week, but we're really going to be curious to hear how it went this week. If you can just try and incorporate this into your routine every morning for the next week. Okay, have a wonderful rest of your day and weekend, guys. And we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.
Bye.